YouTube. How are you doing? My name is Dave. I'm with practicalworshipblog.com, sharing ideas, tips, and practical advice for the everyday worship leader. And if you are watching on the replay, normally what we do on Tuesday mornings is we'll put together a particular topic. I'll do some research, and then I'll go and shoot a video that's around, I want to teach you something, I want to show you something, or I want to encourage you in something. And then we do that in like a pre-packaged type of a form factor, and then we upload it to YouTube, and it releases on Tuesday mornings around 10 o'clock Central Standard Time. But I want to do something a little bit differently this particular weekend. One of those being that I want to do like more of a Q&A where instead of just talking about one thing, we can talk about several things and maybe a little bit more of a rapid fire type of a thing. But also do it in this live form factor. Adam is in, I'm just getting some comments here. Adam, glad you're here. And do it in kind of a live way. We can do things just like this where we can interact a little bit more. I know that a lot of times we'll talk on social media or in Facebook groups and things like that, and we can converse that way, but this is a little bit more real time where we can do a follow-up. Patrick is here, glad you're here. And so what I have done is about 2 days ago, I threw it out on social media, said I was going to do this, and said, hey, if you had a question, throw that out. And so we got some great questions lined up. I have my computer right here, but we'll also talk here in the comments as well, and just to kind of let you know where I'm at. So I'm here at Keyboard World on our stage. And so if there's a question that comes up and we need to like go somewhere on the stage or backstage or whatever, we can do that. But most of the questions kind of have to deal with people and relationships, and how do you deal with people in your congregation? How do you deal with people on your team and volunteers? How do you deal with other staff members and other people that you work with? And so if there's a theme for today, it's probably people and relationships. Not to say that if if a question comes up about gear, technology, that we're not going to talk about that, but that that seems to be kind of the theme of the day. So if you are watching live, hey, put in the comment section where you are watching from. Where are you representing from? We're here in the Oklahoma City area. We're just west of Oklahoma City. It's still considered the metro, but we're in a town called Yukon, right off of I-40. And if you get on I-40 and you go west like a mile or two, you're literally in the country. We're like right on the outskirts of the Oklahoma City area, metro area. We got Patrick from San Antonio. Sam is here from Midwest City. Midwest City is on the other side of Oklahoma City. That's cool. Seminole, Texas is here. Far West Texas, almost New Mexico, if I imagine right. David Smith is here from Spokane, Washington. We're glad you're here. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to kind of engage with the comments, and then I'm going to answer a question. And then I'm going to engage with the comments. Odessa, Texas. William is here. Glad you're here from Crossroads Fellowship. And so if I don't get your comment right away, then hang in there and we'll deal with that a little bit. But the first question comes from Adam, and Adam asks, what's the best way to handle complaints? Which is a great question. Now, I know that I hear a lot of people say, well, if you get that, like the handout that you get, and it's got the little line for the prayer request, and the prayer request is a complaint. It's too loud, or you need to do more hymns, or that one guy's ugly, or whatever. A lot of people will tell you, hey, just throw those things away, and you shouldn't do that. I have a different spin on that, and that I want as much feedback as I possibly can get, and I don't care where it comes from. So if it is from the anonymous comment card, or if it's from someone that emails me or someone on my team, it doesn't matter where the feedback comes from. I want it all. Now here's the caveat. The caveat is that I run that all through a filter, and you determine how much it weighs. So like the anonymous comment card isn't going to weigh very much, but if I get a lot of those, then I might, the weight of those collectively might be something. But a very valued member of the team, I might hold that a little bit more in esteem, or someone that I know has been a part of the church for 20 years, have a good relationship with them. If they say something, and if maybe they're a man of few words, so when they do say something, it has a lot of weight to it. The weight of it is going to be important because that anonymous comment card that you get, even though they did it the wrong way and you can't have a conversation with them, whatever, they may be onto something. They may be right. Even if they didn't deliver it properly. And the person who's been there for 20 years that you have a great relationship with may not get it. And now the benefit of that is that you know who that person is. You can go over coffee, have the conversation with them and say, okay, here's why, here's what we're doing, here's the long-term gain in this. And so with all of those comments, I want them all, but then you run those through a filter. And then at the end of the day, you determine what you do with that. But it's like anything else, like, you know, like take a sporting event. You know, if any kind of sport, there is your offensive plays and there's your defensive plays. And anyone who knows me, by the way, knows that anytime I use a sports analogy, it can go horribly wrong. But you know, when you get the comments after church or after service or in the comment card, that's playing defense, right? You have to defensively deal with those. You don't know they're going to come at you, and you deal with those a certain way. But when you're playing offense in any particular sport, you handle that differently. And so I try to make sure that there are people in my life that can speak into things, that when we are putting things on the stage, that there were, you know, like for us specifically, there's 5 or 10 people at least that are speaking into something. So by the time it gets to the stage, I know that it has gone through a whole host of people, whether that is just song selection or how we do things or style or whatever. And so if someone comes to me and says, man, I didn't like that, that didn't work. Well, I also have the weight of the fact that it took 5 to 10, 15 people to get it there, you know. And so if we chose that song, you know, it's because a lot of people were invested in that particular song. I have a team of people that I work with that help select the songs. And if you ever see one of my set lists go by and the song How He Loves or Revelation song is on there, I guarantee you I didn't pick it. Those aren't songs that I'm drawn to, especially because of How He Loves. And I just think like, you know, it's ruined me, all the controversy over whether or not it's unforeseen or sloppy wet. It's like, you know what? Let's not even mess with that. Let's do a different song. But there are people on my team that say, nope, this is the right play. And, you know, they're generally right. And so if someone comes to me and complains about it, whether it's something I was passionate about or something that someone else was passionate about, I know that there were several people involved in that. And it's like, okay, all that comes together and funnels that through. So, and then at the end of the day, if someone just doesn't get it and they're being that vocal minority, you have to rub that, you just have to wash that stuff off and have really thick skin, especially on a Monday. Mondays seem to be the worst because you've poured everything you have into the Sunday experience, and then someone says, it was too loud. It's like, do you know how long we worked on that mix? Do you know that we spent 2 hours on that mix and you're saying it's too loud? And, you know, and you're already kind of beat down and your energy just drained and you laid it all on the stage. And so sometimes you just got to go do something that just fuels you up and turn that stuff up. So even maybe when getting those is a deal. I'm gonna look at some of these comments here. Nate's here from San Antonio. Micah from Savannah, Georgia, just outside. I think that's right. Idaho, ID. Nope, I don't want to do that. Cancel. What am I doing? I want to go to YouTube. Go to YouTube, hit cancel. See, this is live. This is live stuff here. And Nate is here, and Patrick, they know each other. That's pretty cool. Charles is here. Charles says, I was told a long time ago, your feelings may be real, but they're not always right. Same thing works for people and their quote unquote prayer request. That is exactly right on that particular deal. Colorado Springs is here, and Denison, Ohio. Benjamin, hey, I've got friends and family in like the Cleveland and Akron areas or whatever. So lots of love for the people in Ohio. Chris asked this question on social media. He says, how do I motivate more people to join the media team? Great question. By the way, Throat Coat is legit, and I've been going through the crud all week. We did a big, huge song on Sunday, and man, I was taking all kinds of medicine that I needed to. It was a song, by the way, that required all 2 octaves of my range. It went down to E flat, and it went up to D above middle C. Holy cow. So there was tons of throat goat going on and different, you know, Sudafed and whatnot. I was introduced to the neti pot. If you don't know what a neti pot is, Google it. We have a video about it. It's in the library that we recently did where we're talking about singing and singing remedies. I'd never done it before, but one of our worship leaders talked about the neti pot. And it's this thing that you put in your nose and it's got a solution in it. And you go like this and it drains stuff out. The other, it's It's not as weird as I thought it would be, but holy cow. So anyway, all the things. So if I go for my throat coat, I hope that I have the voice to make it through all this. I think I will, but we'll see. So if I take sips of that, that's why. But Chris's question, how can I motivate more people to join the media team? We're always fighting for volunteers. It always seems like no one ever says, I've got enough volunteers, man, just stop. Maybe in worship ministry, that may be the case to some degree, because there is a quote-unquote glamour to what we do. I mean, if you ask someone, hey, I want you to dress up and sing and be in front of people, I mean, there is a glamour aspect to it. Now, check your heart, do it for the right reasons. I get all that. But compare that to like, hey, I need you to change diapers in the nursery. I mean, if you had the choice between the two, most people are going to pick, the dressing up and get in front of people and singing and whatnot. And I think media is kind of the same way. Especially, media, I'm assuming, is going to be like running sound and lights and ProPresenter. ProPresenter at its core, I literally need you to sit in front of a computer and press spacebar. That's what I need you to do. But if you can really focus, and this is any ministry, this is kids ministry, this is student ministry, this is worship ministry. It's like, if you can focus on the why and the what's in it for them, I think that's the win. So specifically with a production ministry or with a media ministry, is like, when you're talking to people, don't say, hey, I need you to press spacebar on ProPresenter. I need you to run a computer. Figure out how to talk about the why. For example, in our worship ministry, our goal is, everything we do is funneled through, we want to inspire people to pursue God through creativity and character. So everything flows through that. That's when we walk off the stage, that's how we analyze the win. Did we win at worship leading? Well, did we inspire people to pursue God through creativity and character? So, the life change doesn't happen because of us. That's because of God and the Holy Spirit moving in the room. But we are trying to set the table, so to speak. We are trying to create an atmosphere that is conducive to worship, that eliminates distractions. And we know that there are times where God just kind of grabs you and says, I need your attention. But I think most times God will patiently wait for us to engage in that conversation. And so how can we help people to let that guard down? Especially, you know how it is getting to church, and you probably just screamed at your kids 20 minutes ago, and you're not in any frame of mind to talk with the very one who created you. And so how can we do that? How can we inspire people to initiate that conversation, to pursue God? And how do we do that? We do that through creativity and character. Creativity being the arts. We're using music, we're using lights, we're using color, we're using sound, all these different things. And then the character part of it is that what we do off the stage matters just as much, if not more, than what we do on the stage. Our worship leaders are effective, not just because they're passionate about what they do on the stage for 20 minutes, but it's, when they see them on a Wednesday night, or they see them earlier in the day, or they help them move or whatever, that there's a relationship that goes beyond just that guy that sings really well. And so that is our mission statement. We inspire people to pursue God through creativity and character. So how does that play into ProPresenter? Well, okay, so there's two people that you're affecting. One, there's the people in the room. We've all been there, where the words didn't come up right, or the wrong slide, or whatever, and it's like it just kind of makes it a little bit clunky. And not to say that the Spirit of God can't move if it's clunky, but I mean, the opposite of that is that if you've got someone that's anticipating the needs and has that next slide on the last word, and you're not having to think about it, it's one less distraction. And then you got a band who's looking at a confidence monitor, and they need to know what the next verse is. And because if that's not there, well then, they're flubbing up on stage, and that makes a distraction. And so the person, yes, you're just hitting spacebar on ProPresenter, but it's so much more than that. So how can you articulate that with someone? When you're asking someone to be a part of your team, how does it, what's the why? Why are we doing this? Why are they being a part of something that's bigger than themselves? All of a sudden, hitting that space bar is a big deal, because the timing of it is a big deal, and the setup beforehand is a big deal. So in your handouts, in your bulletins, if you get a chance to get on stage and talk about it, or social media, or talk with people, or host an event, or whatever, we do have a video on the channel about how to find volunteers, and I encourage you to check that out. But if you can celebrate and talk about the why more than the what, I think that's where the motivation comes. People will get on board a why a whole lot more than they will a what, and that goes for any particular ministry. That's a great question, Chris. Glad that you're here. Hey, if you're watching live, welcome to Practical Worship. If you haven't already, jump in the comment section and mention where you are watching from and representing from. And if you've got a question, I've got some here on social media that I'm answering, but if you've got one or if you've got a follow-up question, we'll jump on that. So I'm going to kind of answer a question here on social media, and then I'm going to come over here and kind of talk. So I'm not going to be able to hit a bunch of stuff. Colorado Springs is here. Dennis in Ohio, we talked about that. What do you do? William asks, what do you do about worship team members that get nervous? Ooh, that's a good question. Take it in steps. That's, it is different where, the lights are on you and there's people in the room. And man, I've been doing this for 20 years and I still get a little bit nervous. Nervous for different reasons. There's nervousness of like, is the technology going to work? Am I going to be able to hit that note? Are people going to like this? We want to be liked, right? Not that we're doing it solely for that reason, but you want to know that what you're, you don't walk off the stage and people like the whole Charlie Brown thing. That was stupid. Charlie Brown, poor guy, he's just trying to like get a tree for everybody, and he's trying to do the very best job that he can, and everyone comes in and says, "You're an idiot. You're a blockhead. That's stupid." And come on, man, he's trying the best that he can. And, instead of like pouring the energy into like you being an idiot, how would you like lift him up and say, okay, let me help you do this better? Anyway, that wasn't the question. So I would take it in steps. When I do my audition process, I make sure that the lights and the sound and everything is as authentic as possible. You've got a PA that is blaring. I usually have several people in the room, so it's not just me they're auditioning for. There's also other people on the team that they're auditioning for. The way our rehearsal process is structured, our rehearsals on midweek are 3 hours. And we sing the songs over and over and over and over and over. And part of that has to do with just getting used to the fact of, being in the room and doing this. Part of that has to do with getting to a place where you're not thinking about it anymore because it's muscle memory. By the time we hit the stage at 10:45 and we just have the one service, we work all this one service, just for one service. And so when, having people, get to a point where it's muscle memory. That can be good. Maybe there's a smaller place you can start with them. Maybe they don't get on main stage. Maybe they start in student ministry. Maybe there's some things they can do in kids ministry. Maybe you say, hey, I want you to create a video that we're going to put on our Facebook page. Because, it's one thing to look at a camera. And then people, they can do that because they don't see the people. Here's a funny story. So, I'm very used to talking to a camera. If I'm here, and I do a lot of shoots here at the church, if someone walks into the auditorium, I stop. I've been doing this for years, and when someone walks in the room, I stop because I get nervous. And it's like, there's nobody in this room. There's people out in the commons and doing work, whatever. I mean, the church is going on, as far as the business, this organizational side of things. But if someone walks in here, I probably won't do it here because it's live, because you kind of just need to bust through. But if I'm on a shoot day, I will stop. And so maybe you have that person say, hey, I want you to make a video. Give them something to shoot for. Hey, I want you in your bedroom with a guitar that you're passionate about. I want you to sing a song, maybe you've written or whatever, and I want to share it on Facebook. And oh, by the way, this would be a great way for help you to get you over your fears. And then just kind of work them slowly to it. Maybe there's a way, if you watch us online, our website is trinityyukon.com, and we do our services live. You can go to live.trinityyukon.com. And you'll notice that we have singers on the front row here, our guitar player and our singers that are like our frontline worship leaders. But a lot of times we'll have a couple of singers in the back, usually 2 or 3, that are kind of an ensemble. It's our version of a choir, I guess. And each one of them gets a microphone or whatever, but they're tucked a little bit further back on the stage. And so sometimes I'll start people there before they go here. And so that's a particular way that you can do that. This is a lot of fun. I'm so glad that you're here. We got several people watching and people giving it a thumbs up. I can't see the thumbs down. So if you're giving it a thumbs down, I mean that's your prerogative, and I'm glad for the feedback. Again, talked about feedback earlier. I'll take it all. Excuse me as I take some throat coat here. Another question I want to kind of hit, a lot of these questions have to do with people, about relationships. That seems to be the theme for the day. Patrick asked, it's kind of like, it is one question, but it's like this big thing. So, but he talked about, how do you determine what your next level looks like? Be it leadership structure. If you have a church, it's 300. What is the worship and production ministry going to look like at 600? Training in terms of audio, instruments, vocal, even when to start songwriting or recording a live worship album and things like that. The thing, Patrick, the fact that you asked the question at all is huge. I'm a guy from the 80s, and there was this old cartoon called G.I. Joe. And at the end of it, there'd be like this PSA where they talk about, don't do drugs or don't bully or whatever. And, and they'd always end it with, now you know, and knowing's half the battle. And so knowing's half the battle on this, Patrick. The fact that you're actually thinking about this is a big deal. I think a lot of times we make the mistake that we build this thing, whatever, this worship ministry, this thing, our volunteers, our process, our things. And then once we build it, it's like Legos. We put it out there and we go, okay, here's this thing. And we just leave it there. Here's the thing about that. Like when you clean your garage and then you leave it, what does your garage look like 6 months later? I bet you it looks trashed out. Because if you don't manage it and deal with it, it's going to come undone. And so there's always going to be a level of management. You might be 3 people deep on your electric guitar position, and then in 1 month, you're down to 1 person. So you always have to be recruiting. You always have to be building. You always have to be doing different things. Let me see if I can, because this is live and I don't have my my fancy, I can't do charts or whatever. Whenever you're trying to figure out what the next level is, you got to think about, okay, how much time and energy and resources is this going to take? And how much impact is it going to have? And so we've got energy. I'm going to show this to you here in a second. And we've got impact. So here's the chart for Do It Again, by the way. Good song. So can you see that? Yeah, you can see that. Okay. So if you've got these boxes, so these are things, this is impact, how impactful it is. This is going to be how much resources it is. So things that are low energy and high impact right here in this particular box. I mean, if you've got things that you can do there, let me go back a step. First, you got to make a list. Like you've got to sit down and from time to time, and whether you do this by yourself or with a team of people, I would encourage a team of people, if you have it, whether you be your pastor or people that are in your team or whatever, sit down and say, okay, if money was an object, if resources wasn't an object, if you just could go poof and it was there, what would you want to do? And brainstorm a list and put together certain things and just kind of see where the passions lie. And then you take something like this. No, that's the chart. Things that are going to be low energy and high impact, jump on those things. Because I mean, that's what in the business world we call that low hanging fruit. If there's something that you can do in a day and it's going to be high impact, jump on that. So there's those things. Things that are going to be, making sure I do this right, low impact and high energy, obviously avoid those. Because if it's going to take a lot of work, but it's not at the end of the day going to have a lot of impact, why are you doing that? Now you've got these 2 other boxes. You got things that are low energy, don't take a lot of energy to do, they'd be easy to do, but they don't have a lot of impact. I wouldn't write those things off. Because, yeah, that one thing may not move the needle, but if it's easy to do, you can do 2, 3, 4, 5 of these things. And the collectiveness of that could be a big deal. And then the things that are over here that are high energy, take a lot of work, but are highly impactful, can be good things as too. And you might say, you know what, for the next 6 months, we're going to focus on this thing. And we're going to see long-term gains in this. We're not going to see it right away, but we are eventually going to see that. And then, so you build your list and say, okay, here's, sky's the limit. And we do this. And just start going with it. And I think that there is the misconception that we have to do things have to go boom, boom, like it's linear. Sometimes it's kind of a spaghetti, and you might hit this one, and then that was like, what are you passionate about doing, Patrick? Just, or what, you might have a team member that's passionate about doing something. Go do that. And if you do this thing, and then this thing, and then this thing, it doesn't matter how you did there. And in 3 years, you did all those things. Now, one of the nuances of the question was like, the leadership structure in terms of like going from like 300 to 600. That's a good point. How you lead an organization, whatever it is, whether it's a worship ministry or a church or a business or whatever, what it looks like at one size is going to be different than the other. If your church is 50 members, you probably have a senior pastor and maybe a part-time youth guy and maybe a part-time worship guy. Throat coat. Hey, every single time that I take a drink of throat coat, since we don't do drinking games in the church, at least not in Baptist churches, everyone's got to go with throat coat. If you put that in the comments, that'd be awesome too. Just every time you see me take a drink, just go throat coat. One of the things that we do on the worship team, throat coat's a big deal. Throat coat makes the world go round. We have a big old huge box we get from Amazon on that. Anyway, so if you have a church that is 50 members, I bet you your senior pastor is involved at very deep levels on that. They're probably making all of the Patrick loves some throat coat. I agree. He's probably making calls at very direct levels. He's making all the hospital visits. He's leading all the teams of people. He's probably the person they call when the toilet is clogged, or in the bathroom. And so, fast forward to a church that has 5,000 members. Do you think that senior pastor is getting the phone call when the toilet overflows? No, he's not. He's probably not involved in every single particular meeting. So how did you get there? Because obviously you can see from the 50 to the 5,000 that there's a difference in terms of that leadership structure. How did that change over time? Well, it's kind of different for everything, but you have to recognize that that's the deal. That the further, the larger the organization gets, the further away you're going to get removed from the action. I don't know if this is true or not. I use this analogy all the time, and I think the analogy works. So even if it's true or not, I don't know. But we talk about white gloving it on our worship team. And it comes from the fact that I think that the captain on a boat, on a ship, generally wears white gloves. And the reason why he wears white gloves is it's symbolic to the fact that he doesn't touch anything. He doesn't do anything. If the ship needs to turn or if anything needs to happen, he has a crew of people that do it. It is his responsibility. He's responsible for everything, but as far as how it gets done, he doesn't touch a thing. It gets done through certain people, because if he's the one touching it. Now, I think when it actually comes to like getting the boat like docked in, he's generally the person doing that. But besides that, he's not doing that, because you are more effective if you're working through your people. And so your leadership style is going to change as that grows. You just have to be realistic to that. And there's a lot of great podcasts, a lot of great leaders. Carrie Newhoff is great about that. Craig Rochelle is really good about that. Andy Stanley's really good about that. And I know some of these churches sometimes get a bad rap because, it's just business and, and all that kind of stuff. Well, yeah, they are using a lot of business principles, and I understand that the church is not a business. It's a completely different thing. But I think a lot of those business principles apply. Now, are you focused on profit margins? No, you should not. But there is a goal. You're trying to reach people. You're trying to get into more cities. And you know what? Like, let's take Life Church. Life Church is right here in my backyard. They've got over 20 campuses. They're well on their way to 30. They're in like almost 10 states. These guys know how to put a new campus into a town. Think about it. They go into a state they've never been in, and they have to get to know the people. How do you recruit band members? How do you know who to contact in relationships and where to put this thing? Where's the best place to put this? And they kind of have a franchise type model. You look at these different buildings, they kind of look all the same. But when they open up a campus, there's 3,000 to 6,000 people that show up. And yeah, I understand it's the new thing and everyone wants to check it out, but they generally maintain that. They're doing something right there. And I know a lot of people that work at Life Church. I probably could not, but I know a lot of people that do, and man, I get it. And those people want to see people saved. They say that short of sin, they will do everything they can to advance the gospel. And one of the reasons they're so successful is the fact that they apply a lot of business principles. Craig Groeschel knows there's certain things that he can do, and there's certain things that he has to keep his hands off of. And so that's why they're successful in what they do. But Patrick, kind of going back to the question as far as like, how do you determine what the next level is? You brainstorm the list, get around a bunch of people. You look at a list like this and you determine what's going to have the most impact, and you determine energy and stuff like that, and go hit it. And then if it doesn't work, like let's say, you try the live CD thing, like we did that. We determined that we're going to do a live CD. We haven't done that in the 5 years I've been here. And you know what? We're in the process of releasing it, and the CDs ship this week. I think they arrive tomorrow. I'm excited. And so this Sunday is going to be the time that we actually launch this thing. And, I've done pre-orders. You know how many I've sold? 11. I've sold 11 pre-orders. I was kind of hoping for more, but in this day and age where we don't sign up for anything, I'm not surprised. But I'm hopeful that over the course of time that it really does strike a chord with people, and we can recover the costs and use that to pour into the ministry. But you know what? Maybe it doesn't hit. Maybe we don't do another one. Maybe it blows up, and we're like, you know what? We got to do that more often. Throat coat. So anyway, great question on that. Let's check some comments here. Jake is in Houston. I'm going to look through here. I want to find the best one. Teaching worship ministry. They're way overplaying. Oh, that's a great question. I want to talk about that. How do you tell a fellow band member that they are way overplaying? I think any kind of question that has to do with, and I'm going to do a video about this because I see this in Facebook groups all the time. How do I get insert person to do this thing? You just have to have the hard conversation. There's no beating around the bush. You just have to have the hard conversation and just sit down and say, this is the thing. Now, I have an analogy that music is like a pie. I won't go into too much depth because I have a video on the channel that's about it, and it's literally called that, like music is a pie. But it's this idea that, like, a Thanksgiving pie, and if there's 3 people in the band, you cut those pieces into 3 pieces. If you've got 6 or 10 people, you cut it into 10 pieces. The size of the pie never changes. And so, you don't get more pie. You have to, if you've got 10 people, 12 people, you have to play it down, and the rests are just as important as the notes, and so you got to leave space for that. A great example I always like to use is a song from the 90s from Dave Matthews Band. Dave Matthews Band is known for, those guys are stellar musicians and crazy, and Carter Buford on the drums is a madman, and being a drummer myself, I totally respect that. So take a song like What Would You Say, which was the big radio song that broke him out. He plays pretty kind of crazy. There's a moment in the song when the saxophone solo comes into play. Saxophone solo is obviously very front and center. It is very syncopated. And what does the drummer do? He straightens out. He kind of does this 4 on the floor beat. The syncopations really come down because he's making space for that. And then when it goes away, he goes back to what he's doing. So depending on the song, depending on where you are in the song, the size of the pie matters. But I would have the hard conversation with them. Another great example that I like to use is find the indie version of Mercy Me's I Can Only Imagine. There's obviously the radio song, but go find the indie version and compare the two and listen to how busy the original version is. Specifically the drums. The drums are way super syncopated. The other thing to listen to is that in the indie version, you can hear the piano play throughout the entire song, especially when it's big, huge, and he's doing all the things. Compare that to the album version that's on the radio. You hear the piano at the beginning, but when the drums come in, you don't hear the piano. You do hear the piano when the signature lick comes in, going into the chorus when the band's in, and then at the very end when the band dies down, the piano comes back in, but the piano disappears because it's making room for the song, especially that type of song where the lyric matters. I mean, there are some of these songs that are like Hillsong, Young and Free songs. Like what makes the song work is the production. It is the feel of the song, and man, you got to run the tracks because all that stuff matters. And then there's a song like Cornerstone that it's like, it's the song, it's the lyric. The band, Lord, I Need You is another one. Just get out of the way and just play super simple. Some of the times it is about just the people that are out here, wind them up and let them go and let the moment be what's happening in the seats more than it's the moment happening on the stage. There's a time for the moment on the stage. There's a time for what happens on the seats. Awesome question. That's great that you're thinking about that. And then if they don't get it, don't schedule them. Or find the balance that, you know what, you're going to get what you get and you don't throw a fit. I mean, everything's a balance. And it's, you know, it's using people, and, you know, in my context, I'm probably not going to use them. But, you know, if you're in a smaller town, smaller church, and it matters that that person needs to play, you know, okay, so I'll say this. You'll notice if you watch us live, we very rarely use a bass player. Do you know why that is? I have a horrible time with bass players. I just do. I had a good bass player for a while, and he moved to Florida, and then I just never could. And you can't throw coat. There is. You know, there's nothing else going on down there in that sonic range. You can't, if a guitar player hits a note that's wrong, at least the keyboard player might cover it up or whatever. But when it comes to bass, man, there's nothing else down there. And so if you hit a wrong note, man, you're going to feel it. And so there's just no place for that. And man, I would just have the worst time with bass players. And I had one guy that really needed to be here. And so, you know, just from a spiritual sense, and, you know, and almost, you know, kind of needed the excuse to come to church. You know, he needed something to come for, because he would stay for the service, and I knew he needed that. And so I had to put up with some services where it just, every note wasn't good, and he got better. And so the long-term gain on that was better. And there were some things that happened in his life where, you know what? I see where God was moving in that. And he needed to be here because in a time of need, he needed a church family, a worship ministry to reach out to him. And you know what? My worship ministry did. Those people on the team, drummers and keyboard players and singers, when he was in the hospital and dealing with stuff, they were there for him and they needed him. And so there's that balance. So I guess I wouldn't always say that if they, you know, if he can't play, he can't play. But, you know, you just have to determine, is that what you're going to get? But great question. Rob asked this question. Hey, by the way, if you're just joining us on the live side of things, we are glad that you're here. If you haven't already, jump in the comments, throw your questions out. We're kind of talking about people and dealing with people and relationships. But if you've got a tech question, we'll jump there too. But most of the questions we seem to be getting have to deal with dealing with people and relationships. And, you know, at the end of the day, we're pastors and we're leading people. And so that's important. That's super, super important. So if you know somebody that could benefit from this information, take the link out and share it, because even if they don't join live, they can watch on the replay. We're going to keep this video. This is going to live on the internets, on the webs forever. Thank you, Al Gore, for the internets. It's going to be there forever and ever and ever, and you can jump on that. We'll probably even put in the description below, after this video is finalized, the various questions, and you can like click to that link. So if there's something specific, you can just go to that particular video, because this video will probably wind up being an hour or so. But Rob asked this question. Rob's a great guy. We converse back and forth on a lot of great stuff. He's super wise in what he does, and I learn a lot from him. So I value that friendship there. But the question he asked was, how do you see yourself, or where do you see yourself in 5 years with ageism being a very real part in the church life for worship pastors? And I'm 43, and I get that part of it. And it seems to be a little bit more prominent when it comes to worship, because, worship, we're generally trying to do like younger songs, and it seems kind of weird when the guy's 60 and he's doing Hillsong Young and Free, and I get all that, but I think it actually works in a lot of different areas, whether you be a senior pastor or kids ministry or student ministry or any of that kind of stuff. They generally say that a person can effectively lead people in terms of like know what they need and be able to relate to them that are 10 years ahead of them in terms of being older or 10 years below them. And that's about it. Not to say that, like me being 43, I have nothing to offer someone who's 20, but generally speaking, that's kind of the cap. And so I know that that's kind of my range in terms of being relatable to people. And so one of the things that means is that I need to have people on my team that are at different places, that might be a little bit older, that might be a little bit younger. And so, having people that can speak into things that are available to do things, to be able to have the power to make decisions. I work with a team of people. I'm the oldest person on that team that is picking songs. And, we have, I call him the token millennial. I don't think he likes that, but hopefully he knows it's in jest, because he's there's a guy on our staff and he is awesome. And I love his heart and what he does. I've got kids of my own that are in his ministry, and he's wonderful, but he's the token millennial on the staff. And he's part of the team that helps pick the songs, and he gravitates towards stuff that I would never normally gravitate to. And so I need people like that. And so one of the other things, again, if you watch us live and you see us when we do services, you'll notice I don't lead a lot of the songs. I lead one, maybe two of the songs. Sometimes I just play the drums. We're over here on the stage, by the way. We're here in keyboard world if you're just joining us live. I'm right here on the drums. And I'm not leading, and part of that's because I got really good people that can do that kind of thing. A great example of this is Andy Christman, who is the global worship pastor at Church on the Move in Tulsa. If there's ever a church that's known for its innovation and forward thinking and creativity, it's Church on the Move. And this dude is past 50. And he is killing it. Now, if they have a Hillsong Young and Free song that they're doing, is he going to lead it? No. Jordan's going to lead it. And Jordan's like 20-something. But if you have a song like You Hold Me Now or something that's kind of like this big epic ballad or whatever, the dude's still got it. I think that we always have to be conscious of the fact that there are things that we're good at and there's things that we're not. And part of that is going to be age. Part of that's just going to be talent. I'm pretty one emotion. I am. When I do these things, I amp it up a little bit because I have a lot of background in radio and theater and production, and so I understand that I can't just be like this, But I'm generally kind of one emotion. I'm not one that just jumps around and does whatever. But I got people on my team that do. They just naturally do that. There's a guy on my team, Jonathan, that if you ever meet him in person, what you see on the stage is what you get. And so it's just putting people in the right seats in the bus. And so me personally, where do I see myself in 5 years? I don't know. I might be in worship ministry. I might move into a different role in the pastorate. It might be that worship, I do it for a time and then I do something else. I'm also the administrative pastor. I do a lot of things in terms of just the building and the infrastructure. I used to be the executive pastor here when that was a need with the church. And so there's all kinds of roles that I could do. This YouTube thing, when we started the year, I had 600 subscribers. There's like almost 3,500 now. And I love all of you crazy people. I learned so much from you guys. I love connecting with you guys and doing certain things. And I'm starting to be able to do podcasts and speak to people. And I love that. And and maybe I do that full time at some point. I don't know. But I think I have something to, even if when I turn 50, and I think if you're 50 plus or whatever, I think you still have value to add. I think Andy Christman has a ton of value to add, but it might be more behind the scenes. It might be more back over here. And you're kind of the guy that's over here, and this person here gets the spotlight a little bit more. I saw a great quote on Twitter the other day, and hopefully I don't mess this up, but it said that there's amazing things that you accomplish. There's amazing things that you can do if you don't care who gets the credit. And I think that's so true. I think your worship team needs to reflect what's in the congregation. Our congregation generally is made up of people in their 30s. We're generally, for a Baptist church, pretty young, all things considered, but we're not like ultra young. We don't have a lot of millennials. We don't have a lot of, well, I guess we have some that are in their 30s. But we don't have, a huge college ministry. There's not a lot of college here. We do have a big gaping hole where when they leave high school, they kind of don't come back until they've got a kid or two. But anyway, I think just there's a lot that you can offer leadership-wise that you don't have to be the person. And if you're in a small church and you're kind of a one-man show, and so you're 55 or whatever, do what you do and do it well. Because as far as like where the church is going or whatever, I think the cool church model is morphing. I think that we, just like, 20 years ago, we saw that church was broken. It was boring. It was not well done. And my generation came in the 90s and the 2000s or whatever and said, this is broken, we got to fix it. And we brought in the professionalism. We brought in all the production. We did all these different things. Well, these millennials that are coming up, they don't know anything different. Just like they don't know a world before the internet, they don't know church before lights and drums and guitars and haze and Chris Tomlin. And so, their hymns are written by Matt Redman. We succeeded in that. We fixed that. And so now the problem is that when you do quote unquote cool church, it comes across as contrived and phony. And so now we need to look for moments that are where we can be vulnerable, where we can be open, we can share about certain things. And you can be 50 and do that, and you can be 20 and you can do that. So whatever you are, just be you, and that's kind of the cool thing now. And I think a lot of people, especially my age, are like, hey, we got to attract the kids, we got to do Hillsong Young and Free. And you know what? Our student ministry does not care for Hillsong Young and Free. Now, part of that is we're in Oklahoma. Like I said at the very beginning of this video, we're in the Oklahoma City metro area. There is actually a very thriving hip-hop rhythmic music scene, whether it be secular or Christian, in Oklahoma City. Shout out to Dylan Chase, by the way. Dylan Chase is a rapper out of Oklahoma who is killing it. And very rhythmic rap comes out of Oklahoma. If you haven't checked out his stuff, you should. It's amazing. Be Different is amazing. Anyway, but we're right here on the outskirts. If you go this way for 2 miles, you're in the country. And so if we do a Rascal Flatts song or Bring Out the Fiddle, it kills here. So that's part of it. So just knowing your congregation. But, man, our people don't care for Hillsong Young and Free. You know what they care about? Man, they want to do a song, that has some meat and some substance to it, that has lots of words to it, that goes beyond the surface level. And I don't think that our student ministry is all that different. So hopefully that answers the question. Let's check out some comments here. Adam was saying throat coat. Okay, there's this comment that came through, and you guys probably saw it. I can't even say your name, Zez. I'm butchering that, and you're loving this. Kanat Gaul, is that? I don't know what I just said, but hopefully you enjoyed that. I can't tap it. But I have to go on the screen and actually do this. There's a comment, here's a question here. Okay, what do you do when it feels weird in the room? People aren't really into it. They're not singing. No one's lifting their hands. They're just staring. The comment is fading away. I want to finish that comment. Just staring. How do you know if it's a spiritual or practical? It's a sound. Terrible song. Dude, great question. I love that. I was just talking to someone about that the other day. Shout out to Adam. By the way, this is throat coat because I'm dealing with, if you're just joining live or whatever, I'm just, I'm trying my best to keep my voice going. So far, I think I'm doing okay, but I probably can't talk for the rest of the day. I'm probably going to shoot my whole voice. It's a good thing I'm not singing today. I think you get a lot of people involved. I think you talk to your pastor. I think you talk to your team. And you ask the question of people that you trust. Sometimes, if it's hitting, it does, like I know that there are certain songs and certain sets that the response is going to be visual. A lot of songs that are like maybe Hillsong or Elevation or whatever are going to be people raising their hands and going, yeah, that's true, amen. And yeah, they might sing and yeah, they may not. But their engagement is visual. And then there are other times where it might lean more on hymns or whatever, that it's the familiarity that is huge. And so I'm not going to see a lot of visualness, but people are going to sing. And I can't really tell because I'm wearing in-ears, how loud they are. Although sometimes they're so loud that I can hear them through my in-ears, and I know that if I can hear them through my in-ears, then they're super, super loud. And so sometimes you don't get visualness. Sometimes you do something and you don't realize that it hit, and then you get the comment cards later. It's like, holy cow, that was impactful or whatever. And God, whatever reason, will share that with you. I've always wanted to put myself in a situation where I don't want to be the one person at the table that has all the power, but I'm the only one that doesn't know what the problem is. I've been in too many situations where I've been at a conference table, whether it be in the church world or in business, where everyone around the table knows what the problem is, except for the person that can do something about it. And I never, ever, ever want to be that guy. That's why I want so much feedback. I always want to know. I don't care if you leave a comment card that is anonymous under the prayer request, because I want that feedback, because you might be onto something. And even though you complain about it being too loud, it might be the types of songs that I'm doing. It might be the instrumentation. It might be the fact that it's poorly done. They might be onto something. Another thing I would look at too would be, is there moments you can share your heart? Is there a way? Why are we doing this song? You picked the song because you like it for a reason. Can you share that with people? Why is it important? I remember one time, this is years ago, and when I mentioned the name of the song, you're going to go, yeah, it was years ago. Because when I did it, it was relevant at the time. But I was leading worship, I was filling in, and we were doing the song, I Could Sing of Your Love Forever. And we actually did the bridge that talks about dancing. Now, Baptist Church, and we're not, like, if you see, our auditorium, we're very, we're very Baptist in our theology. We're very non-denominational when it comes to our methodology. And if you look at what we do, you can kind of see that. Sorry, I'm getting a message here, and I'm like, notifications are coming everywhere, and it's just like, I'm just the one person. Anyway, so I'm in this Baptist church, and so it was, very traditional, and we're doing the song, and so we're singing about dancing, and of course the engagement on that was like, bleh. And so I had this idea, and I think that God really brought it to me, and I just kind of stopped what we were doing, and I said, when we talk about dancing, especially in Baptist circles, everyone's going to ask the question, what kind of dancing are you talking about? Because, is it dirty dancing? Is it club dancing, whatever? And I was like, you know what? I think about the kind of dancing that's at the very beginning of the movie. This is me talking, that is at the beginning of The Sound of Music. And so she goes out there and she's got all these, these troubles and she's questions and things that she's dealing with. And so she goes to the mountains, and what is she doing? She has just uninhibited is just singing at the top of her lungs, praising God because I believe that the character was a Christian. Well, she was a nun, so sorry about that. I was like, but she was dealing with a lot. She was questioning a lot of things, and so she went to her place of solitude, and she just was uninhibited. It was a place that she could just be herself and just spin around, and she was dancing. And I said, that was, that's the kind of dancing I think they're talking about in this song. So we're going to sing that again, and that's what I want you to picture. And you know what? The engagement was through the roof as far as like hands and people, because they got it. I was able to help them lead in that particular deal. So, there's moments like that. It might be your songs that you're doing. You might be trying to push things in a way like you really like Hillsong Young and Free, and it's just not hitting in your church. I made that mistake. I have all the technology, all the things. You would look at the stage and you would think, and look at our church, that Hillsong Young and Free would be like awesome, super great. It didn't hurt that it was Julie Andrews too, no joke. Anyway, but Hillsong Young and Free does not hit here. It does not work. You know what works here? God of wonders. You know what works here? The heart of worship. Who would have thought? But I do have a lot of people that get to speak into that, whether it be pastors or staff or people helping pick songs and that kind of thing. Ask a lot of questions. Ask a lot of questions. Provide on-ramps for feedback to come at you, whether it's the anonymous, prayer request card in the offering plate, or you say, get on social media, say, hey, always feel free to reach out to me, let me know. And then solicit that. Go to people and say, hey, what do you think about that? When I come to doing stuff here at Practical Worship, I elicit a ton of feedback. There is, if people reach out to me, I'm on the social medias, I'm on the Twitters, I'm on the Facebooks, I'm on Instagram, I'm on all the different places. You can go to Dave Dolphin OK or Practical Worship, and you can pretty much find me in a lot of different places. And if you reach out to me, and people who have done it know this, I will genuinely respond pretty quick because I want to invest in certain people, and I want to be able to know that certain things didn't hit or whatever. There's a lot of times, especially if I got a video that kind of hits on what might be a sensitive subject, whether it's like, I think it's funny that capos and music stands are sensitive subjects, but they are. Keys of songs. The fact that I believe that worship leaders are performing. That performing and calling this a stage is not a big deal. It matters what you're doing it for, but, and I have videos about all this stuff. If you're like, what are you talking about? I will, a lot of times when I make these videos, I've got 5 or 6 people that I will send it to, and it changes, but I'll send it to people and say, what do you think about this? Did I make sense? Do you agree with it? And again, at the end of the day, someone could say, no, I think that was stupid. Well, okay. It's not all gonna hit, especially when it comes to art and music. It's all subjective. I saw something on a Facebook group one day where there was a comment card that came in that said, I love all the Christmas songs. And there was another comment that came in that says, do less Christmas songs. You're not gonna please everyone, but do the very best you can and just solicit as much feedback as you possibly can. This has been a lot of fun. There's 2 things I want to let you know that we're doing as we're moving into to 2018. If you haven't already, we have released an ebook, and it's called 20 Things I Wish I Knew 20 Years Ago. And I just kind of sat down, and it's real simple. It's like 20 pages. It's not very, very big. But there is this ebook that I put together where I just said, here's just various advice, kind of like this. It's all over the place. It's all over the map. It's about technology. It's about leadership. It's about all kinds of stuff. And I put that all down in an ebook, and I made it free. And a lot of people, I'm getting a lot of feedback on it that it's like, this is great, this is fantastic, this is really helping me. And you can get it for free if you go to practicalworshipblog.com and type in your email address, and I'll send it to you. And yes, you are signing up for a mailing list, but I'm not gonna bombard you with stuff. I've sent 1 email so far, and I'm probably gonna do maybe 1 email a month, and hopefully it adds value. And if it doesn't, unsubscribe. That's cool. But if you haven't already, go grab that ebook at practicalworshipblog.com, and you can do that. Also put a link in the description below, and you can do that as well. And then something else that we're doing in terms of trying to get feedback from people, we're going to do something that on the surface kind of seems like this is kind of fun. I want you all to vote on your favorite practical worship video of 2017. And so I went through the channel and I looked at engagement, I looked at likes, I did look at dislikes, and I looked at all the different things about views and all that kind of stuff. And I looked at the videos that had the most engagement. I put together a list of 10. And I want you to vote on what you think is your favorite video of 2017. And then here in a couple of weeks, the video that will be on the channel is going to be your favorite video. Like, we're going to kind of talk about it, and it'll be a way to kind of recap a little bit. So one, it's just kind of a fun thing to do. But two, it helps me to get some feedback, because if a certain type of video people are gravitating towards another one, then that's going to shape how we do things in 2018. I don't think I'm going to change the type of videos I do, because sometimes it's leadership, sometimes it's organization, sometimes it's dealing with singers, sometimes it's technology and gear and all that kind of stuff. But maybe the frequency changes in certain things. So I'm going to put a link to a survey down below in the description as well. It's already there, actually. But if you if you click on that, and we'll make that live for the next week or so, vote on that, and let's vote for the best practical worship video, and that will help shape what we do here at the channel. Last thing I want to say, we've been doing this for an hour. You guys are fantastic, and especially if you've watched to this level, especially if it's on the replay, you are like the tried and true fans, and I genuinely mean this. You guys make me better. I love doing this because I feel like God has empowered me with experiences and knowledge, and I want to be able to share that with people. But at the same time, too, you guys make me better. There are things that I learned from you in your ministries that I see you do, or things that you say, or even when you give me kickback on stuff and say, you know what, I think you got that wrong. I relook at that. Something as simple as I learned a trick in Ableton a couple weeks ago about changing tempos using a pencil tool. I didn't even know there was a pencil tool in Ableton, and you can adjust the tempo so much quicker and simpler. And someone mentioned that in a comment, and I use that every single weekend. And I forget who said it, but you made me better. So I appreciate you guys. You've been fantastic. Loving the comments. If you know someone that might benefit from this information, and again, when we do the replay, I'm going to put a list of all the different questions and the things that we talked about, and it's going to be in the description below with a link that has the time, and when you click on it, it'll allow you to go to that portion of the video. So if there was a particular question, it's like, okay, don't sit through all of it, but that one particular thing was fantastic, then you'll be able to click on that. And so this has been a lot of fun, and we might do this again in the future. But again, practical worship is all about sharing ideas and tips and practical advice for the everyday worship leader, for people that are in those small or medium-sized churches that are one-man shows, or you're leading a team of volunteers. And okay. Rishi, what do you, please, what? Are you wanting me to say something? Type it, put it in the comment. You probably put it already in there, but you got to put it in the comment, and I'll see what I can do. If you guys are making me say like cuss words, I'm going to be mad. But because I got people that are in different countries that are like wanting me to say certain things. Put it in the comment, and I'll say it, and I'll do it. And run through the audio setup. Yeah, Be Worship. That's a great idea for the video. If I didn't get to your question, I am the Rope Coat. I am, I'll look at the comments a little bit later, and feel free, if I didn't get to your question, hit me up on social media, on Facebook, on Twitter, and all those different things. And I want to help in any way I can, and we'll do this again. Hapatus Skilya Hapa Kala Donut. I'll leave you with that. I don't know what I just said.